for God bless.
Mehi ko e Tūwharetoa ne tapu irangi pō ki te take rā o tō ngāriru. Kei tua tuko wanganui e tamua tau te whare o tūroa kararua kuringa ki te tiki paunamu. Ka hoki anō te ate ki tau pō ko te rangi āhua, ko te heu, ko te riu pāpara ko koro kaitoke, ko te rangi monerehu ko tauteka. He pai ai taku Tūwharetoa ne tapu ki waita hanui kia matai ai taku titiratu ki te pokai reirangi e toto e tū mai hora rā, e tū mai hora rā. Ko te take rā tēnā o tamamutu, e oti ko te aitanga te rangi tua matotoru koko i a, e ara e tihai mauri ora. Hei rere tonu ko te whakaronui ki runga no ki te tāhuhu ki rātau ko poipoi kia tātu ai e tātau. A hakua ki hea, hakua ko wai ko tēnei māta, e mihi ko ake ki runga no ki te tāhuhu o te matua, o te tama o te wairua tapu me nāna hera pono, ko koutou ko te māngai tau toko mai ai e nei ake ne ai. E hoki anoa mā te whakaro ki runga no ko te kapua whakapipi tērā. Ki runga no ki tērā ko te whānau ariki, te kauhui ariki ki runga no o wai te toko. Ko rātau i tēnei wā tonu e whai wāhi e tō tātau pāpā a gas ki te poho tana whare, arara ko te kapua whakapipi. Ko rātau tērā ka pōwhiritia, hei waha mōna, hei reo karanga mōna, e tau anona whakaro o tēnei tira ki runga i aia o tira koutou e nā titarangi ita koutou e Tūwharetoa whānui e noho nei kona, tēnei e tangi, tēnei e au e ana ki a koe e koro. Nō reira haere koe ki te pō, tākoto koe ki te poho tōwhare, whai wāhi e koe ki roto i a koe anō e koro. Nā rua tira te kānohi kitea, tau anō nā manaakitanga ki runga koutou ko te kauhui ariki e te whare o te heu, tēnei e mō tea ana e mātau o te puari nei. Koutou kia tātou e tau nei Tūwharetoa tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou e are a taringa nei ki nā mahi o tēnei kapa i te tau ko mahue nei. E whaitihea nō ko te kōrero kia koutou piki te aura, piki te kaha, piki te kia timati hea tātou hui, kei noi tātou. He pai karoria hararuia ki a koe i hōna mano matua tama wairua tapu e nāna hera pono koutou ko te māngai. Tēnei, te hiwa koutou porunga tuku na reo whakamamiti kia tātu huhi anō rā koutou ki wainguni tēnei whakamamiti o mātau. Hei tātarina kupu katoa e whakapua kēna mātau i tō koutou koroitanga ko koutou te timatanga ko koutou te whakautunga mātau a timanako nei. Tō rehia tō ringa kaha ki tātau i runga no i tēnei te kapua pauri kia piki te ora te kaha ta māramatanga. Tō rehia tō ringa kaha ki runga no i nā kaupapa kōrero e whaiti hea no e tēnei tira ki runga i tēnei o nā rā. Whakauingi a tātou i tō koutou aroha noa, pai heretia ki te rangi mauri nā wā katoa ki runga no te ingo o te matua, o te tama, o te wairua tapu me nā ana hera pono, ko koutou anō hoki te maanga e tautoko mai, ai nei, ake nei, ai.
Ai. Tēnā koe tēnā, mō te tūwhara o tātou hui, tēnei wā. Uncle Gus, moi mai ki runga. Nō rea, e te whānau. Kia ora very much for being here today. Looks like we've got a few from Australia coming in. My own daughter, I think, is coming in from Perth. Make some money for Papa, my darling. And we've also got some people from the United States. We welcome you all. But thank you all for spending some time with us today. I know there are other things you might want to do today, but however, we do appreciate your time with us. On our agenda today, we have a number of issues for you for the 2021 year. But firstly, what I'd like to do is have our trustees and our staff introduce themselves. Kei a koe, Dylan?
Tēnā koutou, nā miha noa kia koutou. Ko Dylan tāhau tōku ingoa, heuri no roto o Ngāti Tū Mahuta, Ngāti Henerau, Ngāti Tarangita, ko aku hapu karangaranga o te wake.
Kia ora koutou whānau, Joe Te Huia. Kia ora tātou, kia ora whānau, ko Judy Harris taku ingoa.
Kia ora whanau, ko Greg Stebbing tōku ingoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora, everybody. And just to note, today, obviously, because of our tangihanga, we have Tā Tumu Te Hauhau, who will not be with us, as well as Dame Georgina Te Hauhau. Nō reira, thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do is basically go to our AGM housekeeping, and we do appreciate with the new technology a lot to do for. We do apologise.
The office, a hard copy. Of this report, 54 to 62. Slido, Q&A. When you signed in today, you will also have signed into Slido. Slido is the tool that allows you to ask questions and vote on resolutions. To ask a question, you need to select Q&A in your Slido menu. Questions can be logged at any stage during the hui. Questions will be moderated. If questions aren't answered today, they will be answered by email. To vote on a resolution, you need to select polls in your Slido menu. Only available after a resolution has been put forward. There will be 3 voting options. You can vote in favour, against, or abstain. In the interest of time, registered members who are online have already agreed to move the second motions. No motions will be moved from the floor. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, Judy. And at this juncture, unfortunately, when we come to the apologies, we also have the apologies of our new GM, and his name is Sean Te Hauhau, and he is also at the tangihanga, and we do wish the family well. So we'll go straight to apologies. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Rake. Kia ora whānau, we have 61 apologies, and thank you whānau for logging your apologies online and taking the time to do so. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora. So we have a mover in Raina Ferris Bretherton and a seconder from Rahapa Rameka that the apologies be received, and we'll go to the vote as Judy has described to you. So we'll just pause for a second. Thank you very much, Whānau. That was very well done. Very quick, and everyone that's on the call was able to vote in that small amount of time. So thank you again. As we go through this process, please do the same thing in an expedient manner. Ngā mihi. So we have that passed. Thank you. We'll now move on to the 2020 have 4 from last year's AGM and the consequent resolutions as we go forward at the end of the hui. And so we will end the hui prior to general business. We will have the questions, then go to general business. And please also put your general business take on the questions as well. Okay, so I will go to the minutes of last year, and the resolution is that the minutes of the 2020 AGM held 21 November 2020 be approved. Moved Rake Poho Taiaroa and Courtney Marshall. So if you can please now vote. Thank you very much, whānau. So those that are online, 48 approved and 1 against. So the motion is moved and successful. Ngā mihi kia koutou katoa anō hoki. Okay, TST. TST is an organisation born from the CNI settlement, and just to remind ourselves and to yourselves as well, we've got a short video just to give a synopsis of our beginnings and where we are through to today, primarily our origins. So thank you very much.
The Tūwharetoa to act in securing our ancestral lands. In 2009, after 2 decades of debate and negotiation, our ariki, Tūwharetoa, settled the return of 176,000 hectares of forest lands, which were passed into the hands of 8 Central North Island iwi. The Central North Island Forest Iwi Collective Settlement made Māori the country's largest owners of forestry land. It means our iwi can exercise making and kaitiakitanga over our lands once again. Today, we are able to plant the seed of economic and social independence over our whenua that was once walked and protected by many generations of Tūwharetoa. Whatungarongaro te tangata, toi tū te whenua. As people disappear from sight, land remains. We value the connection of people to the land, where we can intertwine business with culture, where we can continue to walk in the footsteps of our ancestors left behind for a proud and successful Tūwharetoa. Our aspirations are to continue to harness these ancestral lands for a prosperous future. Ko tongariro te maunga, ko au te whenua, we are the land. Ko taupo te moana, ko au te wai, we are the waters. Ko Ko Tūwharetoa te iwi, ko tātou te tangata. We are the people. Ko te heu te tangata, ko au a Tūwharetoa. We
Kia ora koutou, welcome back. I'd like now to proceed to the Chairman's report, my report. You can have a look at that on page 6 of your puka. We'll paraphrase on the way through and go through slides for your, hopefully not entertainment, but for your reference. So we're again talking about the 2021 year, and there certainly has been, I suppose since I've been on the Trust, Dylan, Dame Georgina and others have been on the Trust, have had a strong focus around development of the asset, and we've basically come to a place now where we are quite confident that now that focus, our strategic focus this period, strong investments have allowed us to provide notable benefits, and I'll go through those throughout this report. But then also strong social focus is what we have discussed in 2020, now through to 2021, through to 2022. Provide support and enhancement of our ārakitanga, develop pathways for our iwi into safe and healthy homes, and that'll be a subject of detail presented by Dylan later on in this meeting. Develop and enhance hapu and iwi relationships, which is yourselves and also our other iwi relationships that we need to maintain me ona tikanga and also from our business engagements, etc. Support initiatives that promote the uniqueness of Ngāti Tūwharetoa, and we'll explain some of those things going through to the operational report. But a big support that we have, I suppose, done since we started making and building good assets is supporting our Ngāti Tūwharetoa marae, which is a staple of our fiduciary activities. So a lot of our marae, as you know, have benefited from the grants that go out, and those will continue onward and onward. Close to $1 million provided back to our iwi in 2020-21 in the form of grants, and that has also been done with the triumvirate of the Trust Board, TST and Fisheries Charitable Trust. So again, this is a schematic of our strategic plan, again, to protect and enhance the mana rangatiratanga of the iwi, its taonga, its arakitanga and its members. To promote and advance the education, health, spiritual, economic, social, cultural advancement and well-being of the beneficiaries and their hapu. To maintain and establish places of cultural or spiritual significance to Ngāti Tūwharetoa, to continue to grow the trust for Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Small words, small amount of words, but a big responsibility and a big take. So that's why there's always been a focus of ensuring we have the assets to do that, primarily. Administration realignment as part of our strategic go forward. So the trust into, so we have the commercial area which is run by or led by Greg Stebbing, who of course was our previous general manager, and our fiduciary duties, which is primarily led by our core office and also our housing staff. And in the photo there, they all look very happy, and we hope to keep those smiles carrying on the way forward. The other very critical area is our accounting area, and we are very, how can I say, lucky to have the services of one of our own girls who has graduated to accountancy whilst been working with us. So we've been assisting her in her studies, and so she's about to get her full complement of certificates, etc., and degrees, which will make her a full-blown accountant. So we do mihi to you, Te Araha. Thank you. COVID-19. I don't need to explain any more than what we see every day, every night in the news. However, as we know, we have COVID now here in Taupo and Tūrangi, in the home base, and also with our whānau that are spread around the diaspora, spread around the rest of the country. So I'm certainly not going to talk too much on that area because you've all experienced it. However, our part in trying to make the process a little bit easier for our folk, especially for our folk in Auckland and the cities, we have collaborated with the Āraki's office, which is Tumu's office, who has guided us through ways by which we are able to provide benefit from home here out to you all. So that has been, how can I say, a very big task, and one that we hope is meaningful, especially when it comes to some of our grants and our supermarket vouchers. But there'll be further kōrero on that as we go through the operations report. We have also supported through again the triumvirate and led by the Āraki's office. We have also assisted with the vaccine drives. As you would have seen on TV, our partner CEO, Shane Hedemai at Hirangi Marae, where we had pop-up back in, and also here at Taupo at our marae. Very successful days. But again, as you know, COVID is now here at home, and I note over the last few days that a lot of our folk who were just needed to find out their way have now all got their first COVID vaccines, and so we do appreciate that. I've talked a little bit about collaboration, and primarily we have come together because of the economies. So we're all in one building. Saves a lot of money, of course. Leaves money for more activities with yourselves. We have the member database combined in one place. All our grants, we can pool all our grants together, all our grant funds together to make it meaningful to yourselves. Shared services staff, so both TST and the Fisheries Charitable Trust have a service level agreement with the Trust Board, who has the core admin facility, and certainly it's not worth duplicating or triplicating that. So we're all in one building and we're all one happy family, as you can see on the smiles of those photos. COVID-19 support again. And then finally, an area of which we have been relatively successful in is also from the commercial investment side. We have collaborated on many investments together with very good results. Threat to Tūwharetoa land, this has been a focus of TST, or helping to facilitate and coordinate our folk. So in July this year, we had a hui, but however, previous to that, there had been a lot of discussions around our land back home here and how it has been affected by legislation that is here already, especially with the significant natural areas, and then secondly with the regulation legislation that are proposed at present by the Crown. And it's not only one, it's not only two, we have 3 orders, which has a lot to do with us. There is the Indigenous Biodiversity National Policy Statement, other things like the Access Commission wanting to go over our land and let them over our land, the Crown, and just our hope up on how we keep lands in the state that they are. Sure, there's forestry, there's farming, but most of the natural or native land that is privately owned within this catchment, most, and I say 90% of that is ours. And so what is happening is the Crown is, through legislation, through regulation, is limiting our ability as kaitiaki of our lands to be kaitiaki of our lands. So the Ariki Tūwharetoa has written a letter to the PM, the Prime Minister directly, and to 5 ministers to kōrero about this. Now the Prime Minister has come back and is organising a hui either just before Christmas or just after. But this is one take certainly Ariki Tūwharetoa is very, very passionate about. And when we had the hui in July, we had basically 90 trusts represented, 90 trusts and corporations, and also whānau. But when we looked it up after the hui, who attended, it was almost 353,000 hectares of land owned by Ngāti Tūwharetoa and represented that evening. The other area of most significance is also Lake Taupo. So again, the wishes to look at how it is managed and to supposedly protect it. At the end of the day, it is ours, and in the thoughts of Tā Tūwharetoa, we need to talk to the Prime Minister about this and say no more. So looking ahead, and this is our financial forecast out to 2042, 2044. It's a very important milestone in 2044, and that is when there is going to be a significant decrease of our rental income out of CNI. And so knowing that, we have continued to look at a target out to 2044, which is currently $150 million. And as you can see from the black line, that's the target, and the green line, at least up to 2022, has been achieved. And as you can see, the separation as we go out. That's about maintaining the current fiduciary activities that we do in terms of giving our whānau benefit, our hapu benefit, our marae benefit. And right at the moment, we are above what is required to meet that sum in 2044, and so therefore there is some here to achieve our target, and in some cases raise the target, because at 2044 our income will at the end of the day drop significantly. Mana whenua, we this year, as seen in the video, we are part of 8 iwi within the CNI, and a milestone happened this year where one of our 8 iwi, Ngāti Manua, sought a declaratory judgment basically to further their position within the CNI iwi forest. Everyone was represented at that declaratory judgment, and the judgment is expected to be completed at the beginning of 2022. If the judgment goes in favour of the applicant, we have, how can I say it in a nice way, there is a possible, there will be a change in terms of not only our income but also how we deal with CNI. And if it's failed from the applicant's perspective, we'll just carry on as we are at present. So it's a very important decision, and the effects of it, if gone the other way, will need to be properly examined, because you don't know what the judge is going to be talking about. So that's a big one for us. One thing that's been very popular to you all is our marae pai jackets, introduced by our trustees. As you know, it's cold back home here, and our pies are colder, and we thought at least our kaumata and pakeke, who man those very important stations on our marae, are warm, and so we went to get our 200 jackets to our folk and to our hapu, and everyone seems to be happy about the jackets. I think some of our aunties thought they were a bit smaller than they actually are, and so we had to have some rechange of the sizes. But other than that, it's been very successful, and we are now shipping more in. However, those will have a charge on them going forward. But seeing them all together, all the jackets together, it certainly is quite impressive. We go as one people, and we look like one people. So basically, just at the end of my kōrero, I really do acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our trustees. Our trustees have tirelessly, we don't normally have monthly meetings, we have sometimes some meetings in the middle when there's something important. So I do really appreciate my fellow trustees, especially when some of them have different portfolios as well. Our staff, we've brought on a few more staff, as you can see, in the housing area, and then also into the admin area, just to bolster up our facilitation and capability. Our advisors, our legal advisors, our accounting advisors, very much appreciate their input, especially in the commercial area, where there is need for a lot of advice when we are investing your money for your benefit. Finally, contractors, also they are a very important part of our admin, where we have people coming in for the housing area that contract in rather than our staff, and we certainly do appreciate their efforts. And then finally, even though I've said it before, but I can't say it enough, Mr. Greg Sebbing, we still have his brilliance within the organisation, and we look forward to that relationship flourishing further. Greg, ngā mihi. So, kia ora whānau, that's my chairman's report. And again, if there's any questions, please go onto the questions part of your screen. But I would like to put my resolution for that the chairman's report be received. And the mover for that is Patricia Ortami. Thank you so much, Patricia. And Dominic Bowden, thank you so much, Dominic. And if you can now vote for the chairman's report to be received. $67 online.
Oh, that's good.
Kia ora whānau, the votes have just come in and 100% in favour of my report, so I thank you very much. The resolution is passed. So we're at a place where normally, well, in this junction, Sean would have, our new GM would have taken the report, but earlier, since to Greg with us, and in fact the business of the day, the 2021 year, is mostly of Greg's work and initiatives. So Greg, kei a koe?
Kia ora. Kia ora, Chair. Yes, so this session will just really talk about the distributions made during the year. As you know, the focus of the Settlement Trust distributions have been supporting the Ariki, education grants, and that's in conjunction with the Trust Board and Fisheries, and marae grants, both capital and operating costs. So once again, and I think the Trust has made this grant for about the last 5 years, we paid $15,000 to each marae, so there were 29 grants paid out last year. So this grant is specifically for to support them with the operating costs. Capital grants, as I said, are done separately. And we get a lot of feedback from many of the marae that this is very well received and appreciated. Education grants, as I stated, that's done in collaboration with Trust Board and Fisheries. And really, we've seen a big step up in the number of grants since you're able to apply online. And last year, so you can see there on the slide, 2,057 education grants, totaling $827,000. That was a 30% increase on the number of grants received on the previous year. So whilst we had to dig deep to find the extra putia, it's a good thing. And I can only see it going up really as it becomes easier to apply. The capital works, again, that's done in collaboration with the Trust Board. Last year there were 5 grants approved and paid out with a total of $428,000. The 5 marae were Hirangi Marae, Maniaiti Marae, Marawa Nui, Opaia and Waititoko Marae. They go for a range of different reasons, but I don't think we declined any grants last year. The membership database, 2 or 3 years ago now, we moved towards a common database between the 3 trusts, primarily to make it a lot easier for whānau to register, and you get to choose whether you're registering for Trust Board, Fisheries or TST or all, much easier. And so as a result, we are year on year seeing the number of members registering for TST increase. So I think that's about an 8% increase on 2020, and we saw something similar in 2020 compared to 2019. So that's a good thing. You'll see, I think in the book, no address there, they're still high, 1,400, so that's a problem for us. And the team working in this area, sort of led by Kim and Courtney, really striving to try and get that gap of addresses covered. Particularly with some of the distributions through the COVID support, it's a bit difficult if we know that a lot of the whānau are missing out because we actually don't have anywhere to send, say, a voucher to. So that's an ongoing bit of work. It's good, the database is good, it allows good reporting. I would say it's been very successful. One of the grants that TST tackles just on its own accord is STEM. So that's STEM, there you go, Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics and Mathematics Scholarship. So we offer up to 3 scholarships each year of $10,000. And for the last financial year, we did award 3. We only awarded, I think, maybe 1 or 2 the year before. And those 3 were Sean Turoa Te Rihi McNeil from Ngāti Tūrangi Tukua, Shakira Tobin Cribb from Ngāti Te Kohera, and Tia Haera from Ngāti Hine. I think there's a lot more detail about those applicants or those scientists really in the annual report. Thank you. Thank you. I'll hand over to Dylan now, who's going to talk about the exciting that's going on in the housing space.
Kia ora, Greg. Tēnā tātou. The housing strategy, you may remember, was talked about at our last AGM, where this board decided to pursue information to understand from our people what and how the kāinga were looking. And as a result, we had the Tūwharetoa housing strategy written, and that's now become our base document. In the housing strategy, we've got a vision where homes are worthy of Tūwharetoa. Homes are for the mana and the whanaungatanga communities where our future generations will thrive. As a result of that strategy, we were able to bring in and resource up that area. So we now have a program management office manager in Tūwharetoa. We also have in that strategy 3 pilot programs that we'll talk about shortly. But I just want to acknowledge on behalf of our board the team that are the kanohi kitea in those areas, Melanie Henry, Aaron Te Huia, and also Wikitoria Blandina Diamond, who was also driving that strategy and now comes to the ota, the grassroots, and is working in those projects. So our 3 pilot programs are advice and advocacy, repairs and maintenance, and home ownership, residential builds, and our papakainga development. So those are the 3 kaupapa that we are piloting at the minute as part of that mahi. Now, pilot number 1 is advice and advocacy. That's the area that Mel looks after. She's continuing to provide advice and advocacy for our whānau focused on financial literacy, creating action plans, moving our whānau towards home ownership. That is the rawa that pilot's looking for. Supporting whānau when engaging with the banks, real estate agents. We're thankful that Mel has that experience. We stole her from someone who knows that business in the banks. And so we're very grateful connecting whānau, local professionals who understand our kaupapa Māori approach. Pilot 2, the repairs and maintenance. Aaron Te Huia is in that role. He's prepared to carry out healthy homes inspections. One thing to have a whare, but it's got to be up to the job, and so Aaron steps into that portfolio. He'll be carrying out 100 inspections before June 2022, and whānau will be given a healthy homes report prioritising the repairs, what needs to be done first kia haumaru tonu te kāinga. The advice and advocacy team will then support the whānau to support funding from external providers. Again, ngā mihi kia koe, Aaron. Pilot number 3, home ownership, residential builds and papakainga development. Wikitoria or Blandina looks after this area and providing advice and support to Māori landowners regarding papakainga developments and working in partnership with a housing collective to secure funding that will tautoko to build at least 13 houses on particularly Te Iwiheke Place, ka mihi ake kia koutou e Turangi Tukua. That is the 3 pilots that we have. And just flagging the fact of He Iwi Kāinga Tūwharetoa, that is the business unit of our team that are out under the mana of that housing strategy to be able to get into the homes and support the kaupapa of our whānau living in warm and safe kāinga. So in that same vein, we've also been doing some, it's one thing to read reports and do little pati kōrero, but actually the surveys, there's been a few surveys sent out now. The second housing survey collected 839 responses, and from that we actually figured out 60% of our whānau would like to own their own home and or they'd like to be able to rent to own and would use those shared equity options. Of these whānau, the biggest hurdle to home ownership was obtaining a deposit. 49.7% of those respondents already own their own home. Some of those owners had issues with their homes that required repair, but the majority of the issues was around the roofing, the guttering, and just general maintenance inside as well. And then 30% of the whānau would prefer to live in a papakainga development, hangaia no te hāpori, kia ora I tātou. So next steps in this space in He Iwi Kāinga is obviously there is a whole lot of work going on in the housing space regarding our funding. We've made some applications and support alongside some other partners inside the Central North Island and around the North Island generally. We want to secure some additional funding for the advice and advocacy program. That's an important step in the kaupapa. Whānau engagement through workshops, webinars and marae visits. But ultimately we want to complete 100 whare assessments and reports by the 30th of April 2022. We've got work to do in He Iwi Kāinga. We've got the team in place and we're looking forward to uti pai ai ngā maru apu a koutou.
Kia ora, Dylan. Just before we go to the resolution, some of you might look at the minute of last year's meeting where we had a gentleman called Aaron. put his hand up in the minute and said, I'm a full-blown builder and I'd like to help. And you've seen on the photo, we have Aaron actually working for us now. And so I think that's a wonderful thing, and certainly our commitment to this kaupapa is one where we will try and we will try and use our own whānau as much as possible. So I'd like to put the resolution that the operations report in totality be received, and that was moved by Maho Kingi. Thank you, Maho. And Stephen Maniapoto from Rotorua. Thank you, Stephen. So if you can vote now. Thank you very much, whānau. That's 100% in favour of the resolution again, which is that report be received. Now, just a little bit of kōrero. I'm understanding from our technicians that some of you are having some difficulty with your Wi-Fi. The suggested, how can I say, amendment to that, which might help, is to refresh your browsers and basically restart, and that should assist. I understand that Korohe Marae, they're having some issues. I see from our technicians they've advised that it might be the situation where you are and there may be an overload of your current situation where the Wi-Fi is coming in. But again, they suggest to refresh your browsers. Unfortunately, there is nothing else that we can do from this area. All the lights in the studio are all green, and so there is no, how can I say, impairment from this end. So aroha mai people. What I would like though is those of you who have had difficulties and get a chance to write something on the comments page, we certainly would like to know for our own data where geographically there may be difficulties, especially for next time. So if you can do that to us, for us, whānau, if you are having difficulties, please write in and say we're having difficulties and we're at Korohe, we're having difficulties and we're at Pukawa. Please do that for us, because that will really help our service to you next year. We are in a live stream situation. Okay, the report that everyone's been waiting for, the financial report. Again, presented by the eloquent, the omnificent Greg Stebbing.
Kia ora, Arnold. He never gives up, does he? Kia ora, Chair. Yeah, no, it is my pleasure to present the financial report again. But before I do, I need to make an apology. I've just noticed this morning that my first bullet point there is actually wrong. So I can only put that down to a senior moment, which you do get at my age now. So what's wrong is that the income is right at 4.9 million, or the profit, but it wasn't down on last year. It's actually up 700,000 on last year. So let's call it a good mistake. So yeah, we made $4.9 million after tax. And so that was up 700, and the main drivers of the improvement were that, or the Kākano investment, well, that's our investment in Kaingaroa Forest, a small share of Kaingaroa Forest, but the whole forest is worth something like $4 or $5 billion now, so a small share can still be worth a lot. So we get a good return off that, and last year we made 1.2 million on that. Probably the big change year on year has been our income from CNI Iwi Holdings Limited. So that's Tūwharetoa's share of the rental streams that come from those people who have the trees on the land. The big ones, of course, being Kaingaroa Timberlands. And we were aware that there was I think it's a 7-year review of the rental charges for what they call forestry rights or Crown Forest licences. And what we weren't aware until towards the end of the negotiations is that there was a big uplift of nearly 50%. So we've got all of CNI have got a 50% lift in their income from the forestry rights. Now that's huge, and it basically reflects how land values have changed in Aotearoa, I guess, in the last few years. And that's flowed through to forestry lands as well. So that was pleasing, and that's probably the main reason in the Chair's forecast model, or the outlook he showed you, why our forecasts at the moment are tracking ahead of the $150 million, because that 50% lift it can never go backwards, and it does increase by CPI year on year as well. So that was a great outcome. The other one, of course, is that the managed funds, so this is where we have the bulk of our cash, let's call it, invested advised by my fiduciary and managed by iwi Investor, and we have probably half of that in the share market. So last year things were pretty tough. Once COVID hit, we took quite a loss, but it's fully recovered this year, and I'll talk about that a bit further on. Expenses for the trust, they're up a bit on last year, and that's really reflecting the commitment, I guess, to the housing strategy. Looking at the numbers probably in the annual report, you see that they're around about that $1 million a year. So that's everything. That's all consultants, legal fees, trustee fees, staff costs and that, so pretty consistent. The housing costs have been supported, I guess, we've been able to secure some funding from the Bay Trust and from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. So that's certainly helped us get that project underway. Thank you to the Bay Trust. They're very supportive. Thank you. Financial position. So this is what we used to call the balance sheet. And so the equity of the trust increased by $4.9 million. So effectively, the profit all flowed through to equity. So we're now sitting at $61.8 million. And we do refer each year to where we've come from. And so in 2013, after a thorough, rigorous assessment of the trust's financial position, the equity back then was really only $16.3 million. So we've come a long way, and that's fantastic effort by everybody. To date, we have, I guess, invested by way of purchases $2.9 million in the housing strategy, or Here Kainga. So that's effectively the 6 homes that we're renting at the moment out at Wairake Village, the 13 sections in Turangi and Te Iwi Heke Place, and we have a bit of land at Whariwaka, either side of Whariwaka Road, and yet to be determined it's been assessed as part of the housing strategy. Thank you. Just another way to look at the equity, or the $61.8 million, it's just a schematic of how our investments sit, I guess. So forestry is big. That's 41% of the equity is in what we term forestry. So that's effectively the investment in Kākano. We could probably add our share of CNI iwi land holdings in there, but all the iwi have agreed that they wouldn't show that on their balance sheets, because that will change once Mana Whenua kicks in 2044. Property 17%, and you can see that's growing slowly over the years. And basically what's left over is the cash to managed funds, and that's grown to 43. So we're well placed with what we've got sitting in our cash investments to take on other investments. If we can find, and that's effectively driven by looking for, let's say, direct investments where we can tick a few other boxes like employment and doing something in the rohe as opposed to international shares, but they need to really deliver a return, ideally not worse than what the managed funds will deliver. Thanks. Just on the managed funds, so this is pretty important to us and most Tūwharetoa entities. So I think if you follow it, the returns in the last year or two even despite COVID, have been sort of sensational and almost quite scary as to how long they can continue. So in the last 12 months, we returned 10%, and that's after fees for the whole year. We were expecting, per our advisors, to probably do about 4.8%. So, you know, the markets just continue to outdo all expectations. I talked before about there was a good bounce back after COVID, because the main hit of COVID hit in March 2020, and by June I think it was fully recovered back to the same levels. Well, that performance is obviously well ahead of inflation and what you could currently get in the bank. So what we've had a look at is since 2017, our managed funds have gained around 25%, and that's really that's probably 20% ahead of if you had it, let's say, in term deposits, which I think there's still entities out there doing that, and really it's not the right thing to do. Thank you. Investment partnerships. We have we haven't put up the company structure this time on the slides, but when you see it, and I believe it's in the annual report, it's quite a mix of collaborative type investments, and this is something that's been becoming quite popular within our Tūwharetoa entities, is to do things together in this vehicle called limited partnerships. But one of the beauties is that you don't have to bet the farm on one investment. So the ones at this stage, we have Tūwharetoa Hodo Limited Partnership. This one is where Tūwharetoa, we put together $20 million, invested it into a larger fund with 25 other iwi organisations, put that fund together around about 120 million. It's probably been a bit slower than expected to actually get it fully, that fund, but there's about a third of it invested now in 3 companies, and we believe that there's another investment, hopefully it's going to be announced by Christmas, which will probably take, it could be another 30% of the fund. So it's starting to show the benefits of that one. The Gondola Limited Partnership, that's where, again, a collaborative effort, Tūwharetoa, I think eight organisations, we invested $9.5 million in a bond to RAL to enable them to build the Skywalker. That's sort of performing at expected levels at the moment, even despite COVID, and so we're getting the returns promised, and if tourism kicks back, we'll see superior returns in the future. Tūwharetoa Whenua Limited Partnership, again another collaborative effort, mainly with the forest trusts and 3 of the southern farm trusts, where we were able to purchase through the deferred selection process. We purchased the lands and the trees under Tūwharetoa Whenua, so 20,000 acres. That's performing well now. Sort of tenancies are in place on all the whenua and returning between 6 and 7%. I've touched on Te Kākano. It's been an outstanding investment for the trust. You can see there the income against the previous year was up 9%. Last year, of course, was affected by COVID, where there was no shipping going on for a while. And I think, as I mentioned last year, the beauty of forestry is that even if you're not selling or harvesting, your trees are still growing. So you do tend to get it at some point in the future. Pleasing to see that Kaingaroa Timberlands have been working on their operating expenses as well. Okay. All right, that's the report. The resolution, there's 2 resolutions. The first one, Resolution 6, is that the financial report be received. It was moved by Danny Loughlin, thank you Danny, and seconded by Aroha Frentz. Could you now please vote?
Yep.
Yes, so the resolution has been passed 100% in favour and none against. So the resolution is carried. The second, or the seventh resolution I need to put is, this is a compliance one each year for the auditors, to reappoint the auditors. Just a comment, we normally, I guess, go out to market for audit services about once every 3 or 4 years. I think we're probably due to maybe do this in 2023 again. So this resolution is that we reappoint Crowe, our current auditors, reappoint them as the auditors for the coming year. This resolution has been moved by Rainer Ferris-Bretherton, thank you Rainer, and seconded by Chair Mohi. Thank you, Chair. Could you please now vote? Yeah, the resolution has been passed, 100% in favour and none against, so it's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, the financials are always a nice place to give a read of where we've come from. We received 2013, we're 16 mil, now we're 61, as well as filling out all of our duties. So it is a journey, and it's one that sort of our TST office and advisors have been very cognizant on the rebuild, but as I said before, there is now a focus on especially in our housing area. So this is the way we measure ourselves in one way, our balance sheet. So that looks very good. So thank you for those resolutions. Now, if there's any questions which we'll take up at the end, please note them down. Hopefully those who have had difficulty on the Wi-Fi have fixed that problem. And again, if you do have a chance, identify to us with you if you are having Wi-Fi problems, and you'll come back just to note that you've had problems and where you are geographically. That will assist us greatly. Okay, whānau, we have a special resolution to put to you, and this needs a little bit of explanation, although I think those online and those of our folk remember this, and this was actually a take that started. People like Dylan and myself and Dame Georgina were the first tranche of the elected trustees. Recently it was the appointed trustees, and it was basically 2013, Dylan, wasn't it, when we had our first meeting? I think it was the 9th of January. And we had a flood of all these different issues that we needed to deal with at that time. And this was one of them, and this is the Mangama Whiriwhiri guarantees. Okay, so just to paraphrase, over the years we've identified that there has been an issue to correct owing to perhaps interesting decision-making previous to our arrival. However, we have it in hand, and from a position from TST, it's more we want to move forward from this. Now, you might think straight away, is the issue going to hamper our $61 million value? No, it hasn't. It won't. We have not written off, but we have put taken the subject out of our books until this time. Now, so Mangama Whiriwhiri guarantees. Let me read this exact, because this is certainly quoted from our lawyers, and it is a very precise process. The Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust acquired the land at Mangama Whiriwhiri from Westpac Bank and Dorchester Finance as the entity which owned the land. Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited could not meet its obligations, and Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited is a mixture of some of our trusts and corporations, of which Opepe Farm Trust and the Ngāti Tūrangi Tukua Charitable Trust were shareholders in TWVL or Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited, and were bound into the obligations of Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited to Westpac and Dorchester. Okay, I'll read that back again. Opepe Farm Trust and Tūrangi Tukua Charitable Trust were shareholders in Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited and were bound into the obligations of Te Whenua Venture Holdings Limited to Westpac and Dorchester. Dorchester also had obtained a judgment against Opepe Tūrangi Tukua and others, which was assigned to TST. Now that's an assignment previous to 2013, when the purchase was made for land from Westpac and Dorchester. Mangama 50/50 guarantees. The financial summary is that TST paid the sum of $10.28 million for the land and will receive recoveries. The following offers have been made by Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua. Opepe is to make 20 payments over 20 years of $12,500, totalling $250,000. Tūrangi Tukua to make 5 payments of $20,000 over 5 years, totalling $100,000. Sorry. If accepted, the shortfall to TST will be $759,411 in total. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is explain it further with a graph. Okay, so the left-hand side of the graph is, and the reds, basically you can probably put a timeline on it as at 2013. So what the and as this, when you look at this graph, so the top of the graph is actually zero. Okay, now what zero means is once we go down to the red, it is a bill to be paid. So the first big red bar is the Westpac debt, which is something of $7 million. Then you add on the Dorchester debt, which is $3 million, which brings a grand total of $10 and a bit million. Okay, so then whilst we have 2013 come into play. We've got new trustees in play. And who was on then, Dylan? We had Auntie Nairi, Kawa,
you, Georgie, myself,
Taina,
and Taina Tahi.
Taina Tahi, myself and Dylan, and Auntie George. And we also had Tim Waiter Hall as our GM. And then we looked at the asset and saw that the asset could be improved greatly, or value from that asset could be improved greatly. So the first part was the nitrogen that was held within the lands to a point of $2.5 million. And if you recall, some of the farms, we had the nitrogen cap put on around 2010-ish, 11-ish, 12-ish. It started around 2011-ish. A lot of the later was around 2013. And so we saw the advantage there of at least getting some income in. Remember at that time we're 10 million in the tekel, and coming through with the nitrogen asset income of $2.5 million. And then the big
big time was when we talked about Hautu Rangipo. Okay, because the Mangama Whiriwhiri lands were right next to Hautu Rangipo prison. And TST at the time had the chance to purchase the whole Hautu Rangipo prison, and that was when the Brains Trust of our organisation, and also assistance from others like Jeff Thorpe from the Forest Trust, John Huda from New Zealand Forest Managers, of course Greg, of course Tim, of course myself and the trustees, certainly steered the waka to be able to utilise the Hautu Rangipo lands or Mangama Whiriwhiri block within this whole purchase. So as we know, Hautu Rangipo Whenua Limited was created, which is a company which at the end of the day purchased Hautu Rangipo prison, and then as an add-on we put in Mangama Whiriwhiri, okay, which was a land court block aside the prison. So when we did that all together at one sweep, and I must acknowledge our Brains Trust that we had in play at that time of the capability that we had that basically outswung and outbrained and outmanoeuvred the Crown quite easily. And that's why we have a great humongous jump in that big green one that you can see, which then brings us up, what's that, about $5 million? $5.7 million. So as you can see, whānau, we're in the kaka down to about 10.5, and we've been able to bring the asset back, especially with the, how can I say, the involvement of the purchase of the Hautu Rangipo blocks. Couldn't have been done without the Forest Trust, the two Forest Trusts, and couldn't have been done without the three farm trusts. So we do thank them. So it was, how can I say, organic. And we were blessed from above as well. So a lot of people were praying, and we're happy to have the capability that we had to deal with the Crown. And that's why we've been able to jump back up. So that investment, as Greg has talked to you about, which is a Hautu Rangipo Limited, Hautu Rangipo Whenua Limited, produces 7% on a good year. And now that's just in terms of dividend, but in terms of capital value, that has still yet to be, how can I say, calculated on the way through. So that's where we are, and then we have the Opepe settlement, which has been put in front of you. Then also the Tūrangi Tukua settlement that has been put in front of you. Whānau, from the trustees' perspective, we feel that this is a nawe that we want to put back in time. In terms of our whānau that at the time thought that they were doing good for their people, we certainly have no malice or anything toward them. They are trying to do what they've done all their lives and work for their people. It's just in those instances a third party has come in and it has not been a good mix. So we're at a place, whānau, where we believe within the next easy 5 years we've got all our money back quite easily. So at the moment we're down $700,000. When we go through to the next 5 years, we'll get that back. We'll get that back. So this is why we want to bring it to you now. We need to bring this to you. Why are you bringing it to us, Rake? We need to bring it to you because it is a significant decision of which the trustees under our trust deed cannot make. And from our legal advice, it is always better to bring these type of take to yourselves anyway. So all I can say from the recommendation, now this has been a long time coming.
9 years.
I think we're through how many GMs? We've been through 3 GMs, 4 GMs on this take. Our whānau have gone through, I think 4, especially Tūrangi, gone through about 4 GMs, but we're at a place, Opepe, who have always been the leading light in terms of have corrected themselves. Tūrangi Tukua, again, are correcting themselves. So I think it's really important that we're able to explain what happened, and it's not tittle. So I come to the place where, just to read the formal kōrero when it comes to putting forward the resolution. As trustees are duly bound together in all the assets of the TST, so we require your confirmation by resolution that you agree with our recommendation in order that the TST accept the offers of Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua and write off any and all shortfall owing. It is our recommendation to the hui that the TST accept the offers from each of Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua as outlined previously, and to write off any balance that would be owing by them and any others. I'm now I've just heard from the office that I'll read that again so it's a little bit more clearer. As trustees, we are duty bound to gather in all of the assets of the TST, so we require your confirmation by resolution that you agree with our recommendation in order that the TST accept the offers from Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua and write off any and all shortfall owing. It is our recommendation to the hui that the TST accept the offers from each Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua as outlined previously and write off any balance that would be owing by them and any others. Kia ora whānau. We understand there's a lot of traffic coming in from people who are not registered in this hui wanting to vote. Now, unfortunately, we have had a process of advertising a month earlier in this process, which finished at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. So unfortunately, whānau, we cannot accept those. We've gone through the process that has been guided to us by our legal and our legal people and also our trustee. It's unfortunate that we have not been able to get all folk in, but certainly what I'm understanding, at least from the numbers, we had 353 registered for this hui, and I think at the highest part of this hui we've had about 100 people max logged in. So this is the process, and this is, we've certainly gone to the, I think over and above the legal requirements of this take. I now want to put the resolution for you to vote. That the TST accept the offers from each of Opepe and Tūrangi Tukua as outlined above and write off any balance that would be owing by them and any others. Moved, Danny Lachlan. Thank you very much, Danny. Seconded, Greg Stebbing. vote, please. We'll hold for a couple of minutes to see how we go.
So yes, but it's more the
Yep.
plus.
It's good.
I think it's good, whānau, that some of you have come online re-logged. We have a lot more new people for this particular take. So the more people, the better. Thank you very much. What's the total numbers?
That's about it now.
Oh, what's the total enrolled?
70.
People phoning office in the morning.
We'll give it one more or 2 more minutes. Moderator? Kia ora whānau, we have a result. With 73 people online, 67 have voted, and the vote is 97% in favour, 3% against. So I am happy to have the resolution declared as passed. Nō reira whānau, thank you very much. Kōti. Let us carry on with the rest of our meeting. Now, at this juncture, we have general business, but again, we'd like to go through any questions that have been placed on the board. Any questions popping up there, whānau? I understand through, especially after the chairman's report, there were a whole lot of fantastic responses. After the housing report, a whole lot of fantastic responses from you.
Were the questions?
Okay, we're just going to get in the questions flowing in, whānau. I really do appreciate that last resolution. It has been a long process. And so, yes, I'm ready. Okay, here's from Julie Nathan. Yes, I think the jackets are an awesome gesture. Thank you, Julie. Next. And kia ora for capital grant, Tūrangi Tukua, Hirangi Marae. Well, some double good news for you, Tūrangi Tukua, today from TST. Ngā mihi. Kia ora trustees, on behalf of Otuko Marae, I would like to thank you immensely for the ongoing support through the Marae Operational Support Grant. Ngā mihi, and that is from, the Administrator, Courtney Marshall. Thank you, Courtney. It's almost as if you're here with us. I think that's Connie Hape. Is the housing only focused in Tūwharetoa? What about outside the area? Kei a koe, Dylan?
Kia ora, Connie. Ngā mihi mo te whakaaro, o te pātai. Yes, it is focused primarily on here at home. Our 3 pilot projects initially are focusing on Heiwi Kāinga, and that is Tūwharetoa looking after our homes at
would like to thank TST for the operational grant. This makes a huge difference to our marae. Ngā mihi Dave Pōtaka, Committee Chair. Thank you very much, Dave. You're doing wonderful work out there. Whānau, we're just pausing to wait for questions. Here we've got another one. This is from Dylan Sheehan. Would the Trust consider creating a food bank for registered members? Greg?
I think the focus has been on, from the Tūwharetoa, of supporting some of the local organisations that are already set up to do this. So it's more likely that that this would occur through one of the sort of non-government organisations that are already well set up to do it, without, with financial support from the various trusts.
Thank you for the clarification, re Mangama Whiti. Well done, Julie Nathan. Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. Mana whenua hapu in Hotu Rangipo lands did not have the means to enter into the buyback. What's TST's appetite to support hapu like FHCs in Hotu Rangipo Whenua LP or as kaitiaki? And that's from Patricia Otumi. Welcome, Trish. I thought you'd be at the par. Agreed?
As you probably know, Trish, there was we're trying to find an option where I think the relevant, or the 8 hapu that were identified as having mana whenua in those lands where they could participate financially. The grouping didn't take up that offer. I think that offer would always still be on the table from the TST. It's just a matter of the hapu getting, themselves organised and coming back and talking to us. Thanks.
Thank you, Trish. It's from Katie Tahoe. Pai jackets sounds great. Will they be available online on your website to purchase? Very impressed with the running of this hui. The chairman is fantastic. Ngā mihi kia koutou katoa. Thank you so much, Katie. Yes, they will be online. They certainly will be now, and there will be a charge. But no, kia ora, Katie, yes, we will have this, they're available to our families, and we'll have it onto the website as well when we come out, and the charge will be basically at cost. All right? So whānau, please look at the website with regard to this. Well done. Well done. Cynthia Ellis, kia ora Ngāti Hene Kore He Marae. Would like to send our thanks for annual marae grant. Thank you very much, Korohe, Cynthia. Hope you fixed up your fellow's Wi-Fi and you're able to vote for the penultimate resolution. I know you're all interested in, but we got it passed, so ngā mihi. Ka pai Rake finally managed to get them all online. Very happy with the outcome. That's Marie. Now Marie Hartley, I've got to tell you this story, whānau. So previous to this, we had Marie and we had the korohe pā. Oh, we want to do this way, we want to vote this way, and everyone's going to come to my house and all this sort of stuff. And technically we couldn't do it to a point, and so we were able to work with Marie and Cynthia Korohe. And Marie, of course, as we all know, our lovely Marie Hartley, she looks after everybody where she can, and so she's just saying she finally managed to get all of them online. And so we do appreciate your mahi, Marie, and also you, Cynthia, and all the rest of our whānau e koroi. And we'll see you at Poker on Wednesday.
God. He's losing control.
Warren Osborne, thank you trustees and staff for your hard work and excellent results this year. We are well served by your diligence and integrity. Ngā mihi. Thank you so much, Warren.
Kia ora, Warren.
Thank you so much.
Kia ora, Warren. Haven't seen him for a while.
Te Raina Chan, aye, this is awesome. Sending acknowledgements and greetings from Gadigal Land, Poihakina, Sydney.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Te Raina. Kia ora. Yeah, I know there's a whole lot of you over there having a hard time with the old COVID. And so, yeah, kia tū. Okay, whānau, and the wonderful you whānau that are coming from Sydney, my daughter in Perth, I love you, my darling. Everyone around the country and everyone around home here, around Ngāti Tūwharetoa, all of your home. We really do appreciate this time, and I'd like to give a chance to my trustees and also General Manager in part, Greg Stebbing, to have a final comment, if possible. Dylan? Oh, so we go this way and then Dylan will finish. Greg, any final comments?
No, just thank you for all coming on. Personally, I don't think this is the ideal way to run meetings, but it's better than not having a meeting at all. But I certainly look forward to us getting back get to Kanawi where we can, you can eyeball us properly. We know the mood of the meeting well. Much more interactive. Kia ora, have a great Christmas.
Judy?
Kia ora whānau. Keep safe and all have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, kia ora whānau. The same. Have a very safe and healthy Christmas, New Year and holiday period. And also thank you for taking the time to come and join us for our AGM. The mahi gets done behind doors, and it is a lot of mahi, but I'm glad that the results to your guys' satisfaction. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, I'll do my final comment, then we'll pass it over to Dylan for his final comment, and then the finishing of our hui. Again, thank you very much for coming in today. Again, thank you for dealing with this technological change. I certainly agree with Greg that this isn't the optimal, this is not our way. Unfortunately, whānau, this might have to be going forward. Now, why am I saying that? Primarily, we have been lucky in Tūrangi Taupo for the last 1.5 years that COVID didn't come here. It's here now, and from what we understand, it's not going away too quickly. So all of the messages that we can only offer, up to yourselves with regard to whether you're a no-vax or vax. But please think about it. Please think about it. Just to keep ourselves safe, and also our mokupunas, etc. So please think about it. If you're thinking about it, get some information where you can and make your decision. Because the 29th of the 11th is when the legislation is going to come in for those traffic lights, where we'll be very much limited to go many places if we are not vaccinated. So I really appreciate today. I really appreciate the penultimate resolution being passed. We can all have a breather. And then also, I can only offer you the best Christmas that you can make for yourselves, because that is what it's going to be. It's going to be different, and all I can say is look after yourselves. God bless. Kia koe Dylan.
Oh, kia ora tātou. I just want to reiterate and support all the messages of my fellow trustees, including our chair, around looking after yourself, protecting your whakapapa, and making your decision at your informed state. Our world's changed, and for me, the change has been around what and how we look after ourselves and the resilience we've experienced and grown. And so, kia kaha tātou. It's amazing to see that technology's allowed us to have those from home that are overseas. You'll be experiencing things a lot differently to what we are here in Tūwharetoa, and that the ngangara has just arrived. In our whakawemiti, when we close, I will say piki te ora te kaha te maramatanga. That is to you, that is to everyone, in the hope that you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe, so that we can see you home soon. In closing in English, our thoughts are with Sean and his whānau, Uncle Tumu, and the whānau at Waitatoko. They're there now. Our aroha to you and the forbearance that we are here to do the mahi to enable you to have your time with Uncle Gus. Nō reirei te pāpā e moe. Naro atu koe te kanohi kitea. I runga nōna manaakitanga o te wāhi ngaro ko tātou e arohana kia koutou e te whare o te heuheu. Our love, thoughts and prayers to you all and obviously to our whānau at Waitatoko looking after the whānau at this time. So I'll now close our hui, Chair, with your grace. I runga nō te ingo te matua te tamata wairutapu me nāna hero pono koutou ko te māngai. E te māngai e nāna hero pono e te takotori tapu ka tāku ka tona hea kia wātia mātou kaupapa kōrero. Ko pono ko tika te rakwa rahine kia o ti pai anō nā kaupapa kōrero a ki runga i tēnei kaupapa. I runga nō ko te whakaaro o te noho ngā tahitanga, tēnei ka tona hea ka whakauingia mātou te ko te waro hanua, pai heretia ki te rangi maari nā wā katoa. I runga nō te ingo o te matua o te tama, te wairua tapu me nāna hero pono ko koutou anō nāri ki e tautoko mai, ai nei, ake nei, ai.
Thanks, Kim.